troll lit 2 tallow candles and gestured for Gretel to sit on one of the small wooden stools by the smouldering fire. Though powerfully built, the troll was no taller than she was, but still had to stoop beneath the low ceiling. He fetched a flagon of what Gretel eventually decided was grog. He swigged noisily before holding out the stone jar for her. Seeing the look on her face, the troll snatched it back and carefully wiped the top with a sweaty palm. He proffered the drink once more. Gretel took it, steeled herself against possible troll drool, and gulped down some of the foamy liquid. Instantly her throat burned and her head spun as the fiery brew hit home. Then, seconds later, a curious fuzziness that was not wholly unpleasant. She took another swig and handed it back. The troll, clearly delighted at her ability to share a beverage, grinned widely. Gretel would much rather he hadn't felt the need. She pulled herself together, deciding the creature's cooperation might, after all, be won. "So, Herr Troll, have you lived here long?" The troll gazed about his home as if for the first time. "Long time, troll house. Troll been making house lots of years." He studied Gretel's face. "Big fat woman like?" "Oh, very nice. I love what you've done with the," she cast desperately around for a feature worthy of comment, "stools." The troll looked crestfallen. "And the fireplace," she went on, "lovely." The troll nodded. "Trolls sleep here," he explained, "by fire. Warm, good place to sleep." Gretel was astonished to witness the creature giving her what could only be described as a meaningful wink. She quelled a shudder and pressed home her advantage. "Herr Troll, I am very much in need of your help." The troll looked suitably baffled, having never in his life before been asked for assistance. "Yes," Gretel continued, "that is why I have travelled so many miles to find you. It's like this. I have a friend, a very dear friend." Seeing something approaching jealousy on the troll's face, she hesitated and hastened to reassure him. "An elderly lady of my acquaintance," the troll relaxed, "and this gentlewoman's heart is broken at the loss of her 3 cherished cats." The troll frowned. Whether this was because they were words he did not understand, or whether it was the mention of cats, Gretel could not be certain. When he remained silent, she went on. "Have you perhaps heard any mention, any word regarding somebody taking somebody else's cats, perhaps?" Gretel made a mental note to brush up on her interrogation technique. She was out of practice. The troll drank lustily and then pushed the jar back to Gretel, nodding pointedly. She took the drink and sipped a little. The troll frowned and grunted, waving a bi-digit hand at her, signalling she should do the thing properly. With a sigh, Gretel did as she was bid. Pleased, her host snatched the jar away and swigged again. "The cats," said Gretel, more than a little woozily. "Troll only eat cats in winter, not spring," he said. Gretel wasn't entirely sure this cleared the matter up, although it was comforting information. "Oh, I wasn't suggesting for 1 minute that you yourself would. I mean that just possibly you might have heard of a person wanting cats." "Troll been hearing. Troll knows some things sometimes." Gretel nodded, encouraging the beast to go on, but it merely handed her the flagon once more. "Ah, I see," she said, "so this is how it's to be." She took the brew and drank again before passing it back. "Your turn, and no cheating." The troll laughed at this, a dreadful, phlegm-filled rattle of a laugh. He glugged deeply, making a show of emptying the stone jar. He rose to his feet somewhat unsteadily and fetched more grog. When he had resettled on his stool, Gretel asked again. "The cats, Herr Troll?" "Somebody wants cats," he nodded. "Pretty cats." "Yes, go on, go on." Her entreaties were greeted with a smile which spread slowly across the troll's face like a slug lunging at a lettuce. He handed her the drink. A further hour passed in this fashion. Gretel asked simple questions, the troll gave even simpler answers, each exchange punctuated by quantities of the fiery ale. Gretel clung to what little information she had extracted from the increasingly tipsy creature. There was indeed someone in the area who wanted the cats, and who paid handsomely for the cats to be taken to him. The troll would not give up the identity of the cat collector, but did let slip that he lived a day's further ride over the mountains and never ventured from home himself. Gretel was confident, after years of keeping up with Hans, that she could outdrink the troll. However, she did not want him to pass out before he'd given her a name. Without the identity of the kidnapper, her encounter with the odious creature would be for nothing. She pushed her hand inside her jacket, fumbling for another bag of coins. She noted with alarm the sight of her rummaging in her undergarments was inflaming the troll's passions. She turned her head so as not to witness the stirring in its codpiece. "Here," she said, emptying the gold onto the floor between them. The coins shone beautifully in the flickering light of the fire. "Tell me the name of the person who wants the cats, and you shall have it all, and more besides, if the information proves to be useful." In a rage, the troll threw down the stone jar, smashing it onto the coins. He leapt to his feet, his movements slurred by drink but still fearsomely powerful as he stomped about the room. "Troll not want money, money no good. If troll take money to buy things, people did been running, people did been screaming. Nobody take troll's money, troll not wanting it." Gretel forced herself to ask the question she had been dreading ever since the wink. "So what does Herr Troll want?" There was a worryingly long pause, during which the troll gazed down at Gretel as he swayed. He stepped closer, studying her, letting his piggy eyes travel blurrily the length and breadth of her body. Suddenly he leaned forwards, arms outstretched. Gretel recoiled, waiting for the inevitable bodily contact that she feared might scar her for life, but the troll merely reached up to the grimy shelf above her and took down a large wooden box. With great care he set the box down in front of the fire and knelt beside it. He undid the brass latch and opened the lid to reveal the contents. Gretel leaned forward, her heart still pounding in her ears. She had difficulty making out exactly what treasured objects they were. There were 20, maybe 30 of the things. They were small, white, and 2 to 4 inches long. The troll touched them tenderly, making a soft purring noise as he did so. "The cats?" Gretel heard herself ask. "Ha! Not cats!" The troll clearly thought the idea was ridiculous. "Troll not like cats." "No, of course not. Silly of me. Then these are?" Gretel asked. The troll smiled and then very gently took Gretel's hand in his. Her neatly manicured fingers lay in his bristly, malformed palm, his own 2 fat digits dwarfing her comparatively slender ones. "Fingers," whispered the troll. "Beautiful fingers." Gretel felt an urgent need to urinate. She looked again at the box and could see now that what it contained was a collection of finger bones. Some were elegantly long, others jointed, some were thumbs, and others in 3 longer pieces, but they were all, very definitely, human fingers. Gretel slowly withdrew her hand from the troll's grasp. "Ah," she said, "the thing is, Herr Troll, I am myself rather attached to my fingers." The troll snatched up the wooden box, snapping the lid shut, clasped it to his chest protectively. "Big fat woman want name, big fat woman find finger for troll," he said. Relief flooded Gretel's body. This was not a bargain she would ordinarily have thought a fair one, but in the circumstances it seemed completely sensible. All she had to do now was make sure the troll didn't get any other ideas into his knobbly head. Silently thanking Hans for the quantities of drink he had inured her to, she smiled at her host. "That," she said, "sounds like a deal, and we should drink to, Herr Troll. Any more of that delicious grog of yours going, perchance?" Once safely back at the bad hotel, Gretel rewarded herself with as many pampering treatments as were on offer. It took a full 24 hours for her to clear the stink of the troll from her nostrils and the memory of his looks of lustful longing from her mind. She lay on a fluffy towelled couch where a young masseur worked on her screaming muscles, especially the ones in her calves, and did a mental tally of what her efforts had yielded. The gains were few but important. She now knew that someone was snatching the cats, or more accurately, having the cats snatched. She knew also that this person lived over the mountains one day hence. Furthermore, she knew that the troll knew who that person was, and in addition she had a rare insight into the life habits and singular desires of trolls, but she decided against counting this as any sort of plus. She had also deduced that the troll was more involved than he was letting on, giving the missing finger on the corpse in Hund's yard. She was convinced the unknown man's death and the catnapping were connected. On the minus side, her body ached terribly from all the clambering up and scrambling down the mountain she had done. Her insides had not yet recovered from the toxic brew she had been required to drink in dangerous quantities, and there was the very real chance that one day Herr Troll would appear on her doorstep clutching a bunch of flowers, and the only way to discover the identity of the cat collector was to obtain a human finger and take it to said troll. "Ah!" she cried as the masseur found a particularly sensitive spot. "Fraulein, you have been overworking these muscles. It's important to build up stamina before attempting any serious activity." Gretel groaned. "Needs must. Besides, I'm not sure what the recommended training would be for encountering trolls. I would be happy to provide you with a programme of exercises." "Thank you, but that won't be necessary. After your expert attentions, I intend to return home and spend considerable amounts of time on my daybed." She paused to gasp as the pitiless young man probed deeper into protective layers of plumpness and located another painfully knotted muscle. When she'd recovered her breath, she went on. "I do, however, have one task I need to perform." She shut the image of what she knew she must do from her mind. "Tell me, does Bardamsee boast such a thing as a hunting shop?" "Fraulein is thinking of joining the chase? Oh, please consider your condition, such strenuous activity." "I'm thinking of no such thing. I merely wish to acquire one inexpensive but very sharp knife." A shop was duly recommended, and later that day Gretel purchased a fearsome weapon, which she insisted be wrapped well so that she could take it to her room without arousing curiosity. She sat on her bed looking at the thing out of its paper and held it up to the light. It had a bone handle, an unnecessary expense, but Gretel had been keen to get the knife and bought and escape any questioning from ogre salesmen, and a long blade which was smooth on one side and jagged on the other. It felt heavy in her hand. She tried a little swiping motion, then a jab or two, and then, with more purpose, chopping and sawing actions. Her stomach began to turn over. She checked the clock on the mantel. 5:30. It would be several more hours before Hans would be suitably drunk. She knew her nerve must not fail her. Where else was she to obtain a finger, for heaven's sake? Hans would be much too full of ale and schnapps to feel any pain, she reasoned. She'd even given him extra drinking money, which he'd been very happy about indeed. It wasn't as if he couldn't manage without a finger after all. He would still be able to lift a Toby jug or a liqueur glass without any difficulty. The little finger of his left hand, she had decided, was the one to go for. And of course he need never know who it was who had denuded him of his digit. Gretel would invent a story of a shadowy intruder and insist some of her money had been stolen. The fuss would soon die down. With a bit of luck, the hotel might even waive their bill. Yes, it was the best solution all round. There was no doubt in her mind about it. That is the end of chapter 4.